Okay, I talked about my top 10 overrated films that I picked from last week. Now I get to talk about my top 10 underrated films. And as always, this is just my pick, my list. You don't have to agree with it. And as always, you're more than welcome to share your views of your top 10 underrated list. I love to hear it. I love to have a discussion about it. So without further ado, these are my top 10 underrated movies that I felt that needs a little bit more attention than what it was originally getting. I start out with Batman, Master of the Phantasm, and I know, this film has gotten more and more attention over the years. I'm very happy about it because I think this is out of all the animation films, especially this one. This was one of the better Batmans, especially on how well done they told the origin story. This did a better job telling the origin story than both of Tim Burton movies combined, in my opinion. I really did enjoy it. I didn't have great feelings of it, especially since most TV shows, when they get their own movies, it normally doesn't vote well. This one not only stay true to the Batman the animated series, but it actually did something else. It actually was darker. People died in this animated movie, and it really set a mature tone of how close Batman was to an actual normal life. Of course, we all know that never happened, and as a result, the cycle that was going on led to him becoming the Dark Knight. This film was not treated well by Warner Brothers. They really did a terrible job promoting this film. I mean, they only had it, I believe, on one television station. That's when the Batman animated series was on Fox, and that's the only place you really could actually get any kind of promotion about this movie. It was not a big push. It didn't have the Tim Burton treatment that that film had, and it was kind of sad, because a lot of people really did love the animated series, and probably would have had a good turnout half this film was pushed more. I didn't think they had that much confidence when this movie came out. And to my opinion, if they really didn't have much confidence about this movie doing well in the box office, they should have made it be at least a direct-to-DVD, or in that case, a direct-to-video, because we had video cassettes still and DVDs still hadn't come into the fold. But in any case, this is one of the things film I feel that that is getting attention, but it needs to really get attention. It's in the high of my list, of course. It's not one of the top three, but to me, I still feel that Batman Master of the Phantasm should be recognized as one of the best Batman movies, animated and live. Of course, that's just my opinion. The next film is a film that I definitely felt that deserved a lot more attention than what it's getting. A lot of people has been bashing it. I don't know why. And that's the Goofy movie. Now, I talked about this with a friend of mine, movie fan 12. We have both agreed that this film came out at a time where a lot of Disney movies had either a fairy tale theme to it or had a folk tale theme to it. Princess, handsome, prince who does amazing things. And throughout the films, between this one, DuckTales, and even The Rescuers Down Under, which is a great movie. I really do enjoy Rescuers Down Under. Those films got pushed to the curve. This one is definitely, and I think this film gets a rap for the wrong reasons. I enjoyed the Goofy movies because it dared to be different. We had a different setting, and those who saw the Goof Troops pretty much should have known this was going to go in that direction. I will say this, though. I think one mistake that Disney keeps making, a lot of these studios keep making, you put the word movie, a lot of people have the idea that this film is going to be bad. Anytime when you have a DuckTales the movie, Power Rangers the movies, a Goofy movie, anytime you put the word movie there, it seems to turn people off a lot more than what they normally should. I mean, there's only been one film that I think that actually had the word movie, and it actually did pretty well, and that was Rugrats. And even them, they didn't stuck with that too long. With Goofy, I think people was expected share too much light to it because it didn't follow the same old formula of damsel in distress, princesses, and all that stuff. It was very modern. I think people didn't like that. I think people really didn't grasp to that too much, and it's kind of a shame too because this is a very good movie. It actually got the parents' seal of approval. It really is that good, and what made it so good is the constant relationship you see between Goofy and his son Max. And I always felt that one of the best things they could have done for Goofy was give him a son, because you really see the love, you really see the connection they have, the fights they have. These are actual real situations that they're going through, and it proves that Goofy is not some goofball. He's a very smart, intelligent character that I really love more and more every time I see him on screen. And I really wish that this film gets the credit for showing that, instead of being bashed because it doesn't follow the fairy tale scenario. Not all great Disney films need to follow the fairy tale folk tale scenario. A good Disney film should be recognized as being a good Disney film, and I think people don't want to recognize this because of those elements. Maybe one day it finally gets the credit it deserves, but I find a lot of people very much not liking on this film, and I kind of feel it's kind of unfair. I really do. Hopefully, over the years, when newer generations is introduced to the film, it finally gets that credence it definitely deserves. Another film, number 8, is Strictly Business. This is one of a lot of independent films that came out during the 90s. There was a lot of independent films that was slowly seeping into major theaters. And this one, although it had a very good cast, it wasn't considered big budget. The story was simple. The theme was simple. You had Halle Berry in it, of course. But this was very independent. And what I like about this movie is that it shows the pros and the cons, the good side and the dark side of corporate business, and how things go, and how people are willing to even step on other people's toes or even destroy another person to get ahead. There's a lot of themes that I agree with, there's a lot of themes I don't agree with, but overall it told a very good, straightforward story. This film is slowly being forgotten. It's slowly being forgotten for a lot of reasons. Mainly because it was pretty much isolated to mostly the urban surroundings. Not many people that was diverse have seen this film, and I kind of wish it did, because it doesn't really just sing towards the African American audience. It really has something for all people to look at, and I'm hoping that maybe when this film is reintroduced again, that people will see it for what it is. This film slowly, very slowly, is fading out of people's memory. People never even heard of it. People don't even know it exists. And I think this is a film that should be reintroduced, because it is a good film, and it shows that some of the best, better work films, some of the great films, it's not the one that's made with big budget. It's not the one with all the explosions or the great superstars. Some of the great films are the films that told a simple story with a bare bones budget. I'm not saying this is a bare bones budget. It had a good soundtrack with LL Cool J, but it was definitely independent. It didn't have too many backings of a lot of studios. And when this film finally came out, it came out on limited releases. Although it did okay, it's one of those films that many people don't talk about. It's a good film. It had good praises. I just wish that the film is recognized a lot more than just being, okay, that's good, next please. Because this film is definitely one of the better ones. Another independent film that has huge supports from a lot of people was Hanging with the Homeboys. This is when I really started to dive into independent films a lot more than what I did in the past. Independent films was very hard to get in because I was a kid. Even if it was PG-13, they wasn't going to let you in the film because of the nature of the theme that they was trying to say. Hanging with the Homeboys was a little different. It basically followed a group of friends trying to have fun on that particular night, and man, did they get in a lot of trouble. They snuck into a Spanish party, and you see different scenarios going in. One is in denial of his race, another one don't have money and munching other others. You have one who's trying to be devoted to his girlfriend, only to find out his girlfriend is cheating. All this happens in the stress of one day, and they did it in such a way that, even though it's crazy, it's insane, but it was still entertaining, the story was still good, and the acting and performance was great. This is a movie I wish that is recognized a lot more, because it is one of those cheaply made independent films. It had a guy like good stars in it. If you see it, you recognize them, but it was very, very cheaply made. I believe, from what I understand, the community actually supported this film a lot to keep this film going, and it's actually good to hear that a film like this had the support of the community. But like I said, once this film was out in theaters, people who recognize, who've seen it, remembers it, but there's a lot of people who don't know this film exists. And I feel that people should at least take a look at it. Again, it's one of those movies that, it doesn't have the special effects, it doesn't have that, big studio backing, but what it does have is a strong story and a good story to follow. A story that that people can look back and say, yeah, this was good. They did a great job with this movie, and it should be recognized a lot more for that. Moving right along, is a film that is definitely was a high budget film, but didn't do too well in the box office. And I believe this pretty much kept Sylvester Stallone from making any more dramatic films, especially doing his screenwriting. And it's kind of sad too, because he is a damn good screenwriter and can write a good movie when given opportunity. And one of those movies was Copland. When I saw this film, the first thing I said to myself, what to think about this film. It had a lot of all-star cast. Sylvester Stallone, Robert De Niro was in there. You had a situation in this movie where a cop shot a person they thought had a gun. They tried covering it up, make things worse. And they went out of jurisdiction where they couldn't be arrested because they lived outside of the jurisdiction. And you have Sylvester Stallone trying to do the right thing, struggling from just keeping quiet or doing the right thing. And he ends up catching the guy and bringing him in later. But you can see the struggles that he's going through, the stuff that's going to happen, his interaction with Robert De Niro, as well as the cops who are basically trying to do everything they can to protect their own from going to jail or being, tagged by the Internal Affairs. And it does a very good job with this. This is one of the films where it has more drama than action, but I was really, really surprised. I'm saying, yeah, this is a great movie, and people just don't see it as a good movie, or just basically just didn't care for it because it didn't have the Rambos of the world and the kind of films that he was making before making this film. And he made a lot of action films. A lot of them some of them were good, some of them was bad, some of them I like to forget. I'm talking to you for Stop Or My Mom Will Shoot. That was the worst of them all. But people want to see action from him. And when he tried to do drama and be serious about it, people just turn off about it. People turn away from it. And it's kind of sad because he can do it. He basically said, to hell with this. People want to see what action film, that's what I'm going to do. And it's kind of sad that it happens. Happened to another person who's on this list. But it was more on him because I said, you know what, I really wanted to see him do more of this kind of stuff. Who knows, he probably would have gotten an award for some of the work he probably had in his head, but never got out because Copland wasn't what everybody thought it was. I actually thought it was a good movie. I really did. Was it an award-filling movie? No, but it was a good film, and it shows that that Sylvester Stallone can write a serious role that doesn't require him cursing a storm or blowing things up. This was one of the films that showed that, and I kind of wish that he made more of those, especially down around the career. Hopefully, if he chose a different career path, he'll do screenwriting and present a screenwriting that is worthy of not only the audience eyes but also the awards eyes, because I really do want him to make those more films like that. Another person who also suffered from this film, although it took 23, I'm not talking about 23, it was the Majestic. Now, anybody don't know what this movie is, because a lot of people did not see it. It was universally panned by a lot of critics in the West Coast. This film is about Jim Carrey. This is one of Jim Carrey's serious attempt films. He made a lot of them during that stretch. He made Truman Show, which is my personal favorite. He made Man on the Moon. I believe they call it this. I forgot the damn movie. It's a movie that he made that seemed to skip my mind. It'll come back to me. But he started making serious movies, and as he kept diving more and more into those roles, the fans started watching him less and less. They watched the Truman Show. They saw Man on the Moon, which was okay, but once he started really diving in, many people started to bail out on him, and it was kind of sad because the Majestic, even though it wasn't the one that finally said, "The hell with it, I'm going to do comedy again," it was the beginning of the end of him doing serious roles, because Majestic really did not get at all any support from his fans, nor the moviegoers in general. The critics said it was not a good movie. Everybody said it was a bad film. And I asked the one question, why? What made this such a bad film? Well, he's not funny in it. I said, really? And when I watched the film, granted, it was not funny, but it was never meant to be a comedy. It was a drama, and I thought he was pretty damn good in this movie. I actually did enjoy him in this movie. I was amazed of why people was mad at this movie. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my taste in film, and maybe it's just I felt the movie was good in my eyes. And I really thought that people gave this film a raw deal because he wasn't doing comedy. Now, I'm not making any excuse of the number 23. That film was bad. I'm not even going to make any excuse for that. But I felt it was this movie that I felt that Jim Carrey was moving away from that and started going back to more comedy. Not to say that some of his films that he made after 23 was bad, but I felt that he really didn't need to typecast himself in that role, because given the right script and given a chance to be doing something more serious, I think he can be good at it. I think he can be very, very good at it. And this is just a case of this movie basically coming out at a time where people still wanted Jim Carrey to be funny, over the top. And it's I felt that sometimes the fans are selfish like that way when it comes to certain actors. Robin Williams suffered the same thing as well, but the only difference is Robin Williams actually won some awards with Dead Poet Society and other films he came out with that I think people started to cramp down on that. But again, with Jim Carrey, once you saw Truman Show, I said, okay, he's going for more serious roles, and I actually embraced for that. What's the Dress all about? It's about an old theater. It basically set on a time where people was being labeled as communists, and he was played a character that was labeled as a communist, and he lost his job. Basically, his career was ruined. He drove, and he actually got into a car accident where he lost his memory, and he stumbled upon a town that actually thought he was somebody else. And the person who thought he was someone else was the person who ran and operated an old abandoned movie theater, which they restored and started playing movies again. It became part of the community. He later on got his memory back, and but the father, the person who he thought was his son, never knew that because he passed away, and he didn't want to tell him that he wasn't the man he think he was. There were some people who knew the truth. There were others who didn't, but it was the ending of this movie of the movie that really, yeah, this is a good ending. I actually enjoy it, and I thought again the performances was fine, the story was good, the pacing was fine. It's just it was a drama, not a comedy, and I think people was looking for this to be funny, and I thought this was a drama. What do you expect? It wasn't a dry drama, and I felt that was the main important thing. It never bored me, but. Again, this is a classic tale of a guy, once he got that The Mask, Ace Ventura, and all the other films that made him, pretty much the funny man that everybody expected. They didn't want him to leave, and unfortunately, that ad with the number 23 was pretty much the last straw. And now we got Jim Carrey, who we know as right now, and it's kind of sad because I do want to see him do other serious roles. I'm actually getting sick of him doing pretty much playing the same role over and over again, but that's just my opinion. If you guys gotta take a look, if you look at it as just a drama, take a look at it. I think it's worth seeing, but I do believe this is an underrated film. But the simple fact is, one, I thought it was a good movie, a very, very good movie, and two, people miscalculated this as being a comedy when it really wasn't supposed to be a comedy. Another film that actually got praised by a lot of people when they first saw it, but now has slowly is dipping out of sight. I think only the video game nerd James Roth have mentioned this film. I've seen this film a dozen times, and I love this movie, and that was Nightbreed. It's number 4 on my list, and the reason why I like Nightbreed is because out of all the horror monster films I've seen, this is the one film that actually did the reverse. It's a very simple story. A guy, he has a dream about these Nightbreeders who he doesn't ever seen before. He actually encounters one of them, gets scratched by them, and what happened was, I forgot to mention this. Should have mentioned this first. He was a suspect in a murder case that was going on, and they figured that he was the one who was doing it, which turns out to be not the case, and you find that out very, very quickly. And he ends up dying, but not before getting scratched. He got attacked by these Nightbreed, and they scratched him, and that wound, added with the fact of death, he ended up becoming one of them. And that's when the story really takes off, because you realize a few things. One, the Nightbreed ain't as bad as people thought he was. In fact, they're actually the good guys. Two, not all Nightbreeders die the same way. Some die by sunlight, some die by bullets. I think it really all depends on how you die, and that's how and that's pretty much determine how you will die as a Nightbreeder. But all of them are pretty much different type of creatures, and all have different type of unique features to them. The makeup in this movie is fantastic, and the fact of the story is that you are now that the humans, who you think they will be the good guys, are the bad guys, and the monsters and demons are the good guys. They're trying to live their own life, trying to be, keep to themselves. And the fact you had some people know about them and actually want to be with them was a story that I actually wanted to grip. They actually kept it open for a sequel, which never happened. I think this film didn't do too well in the box office, which is very sad, because a lot of horror films that was coming out in the 80s really turned me off. Unless you was Nightmare on Elm Street and somewhat Jason, I wasn't paying attention to you guys, and that was because of a lot of stereotype. This film was mature. The dialogue, you can make a case that it was not that great. You can make a case that the film was a little bit greedy and did age at times, but there's no question this is a very, very good movie that I think everybody should check a look. It is a shame that nobody really talks about it as amongst the great monster horror films that came out. This film is very, very good. It's original. It's something I haven't seen before. It was very different, and to me, it should get a whole lot of more recommendation than it's definitely is getting. This film, as the years go on, people barely talk about it. I don't think it even showed on TV anymore. But I will say, if you do catch it, if you do see it on YouTube by some miracle, check it out. It's definitely worth a look. It is definitely one of my favorite films, and it definitely should get a higher buzz than what it's gotten as the years went past. Another film is a Spike Lee film, Get on the Bus. When you think of Spike Lee films as great movies, you automatically think of the following: Do the Right Thing, She's Gotta Have It, School Days, Malcolm X. Those are his top classics. Surprisingly enough, when it comes to Get on the Bus, this film does not get any recognition. It's like this film has been forgotten as probably one of Spike Lee's least popular films, and I'm really sad to see that, because this is a well done film. This is classic Spike Lee at its best. And what's this movie about? Well, you have a bunch of people going to the Million Man March, which on their way they get into a lot of situations. They get into a lot of confrontation. You get a lot of themes going on, but all of them is good, and it follows the flow of what's going on in the movie. What's ironically about this film, they never make the Million Man March, and that's because of an incident that happened. And then you really start to see these people who are total strangers at first, but become together in the situation, unite. We get to see a lot of stuff being talked about, a lot of themes that's going on, a lot of attitudes, slowly coming to the surface, a lot of problems that needed to be resolved. And this film does it very well. I really thought that Spike Lee did a very, very good job in this movie. And you would think a movie like this would get a lot of more buzz, especially with reviews, which had a pretty good, review when it first came out. But slowly but surely, this film has just been forgotten. People actually don't even know this movie exists. People actually know about Crooklyn and The Devil in the Blue Dress before they actually talk about this movie, and I kind of find it sad, because it is one of Spike Lee's better films, and I just wish that this film gets that film deserved. I don't even think they even played this on cable. I had to get this on video when I got it, and when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is Spike Lee. This is what I know about Spike Lee. I find that when Spike Lee has a limited or just basically room to work with the little budget he has, he's actually kind of better. I think the one high budget film he's already done well, in my opinion, was Malcolm X. That was a very high budget film, but most of his earlier works were films that were very low budget, pretty much independent films. And this was definitely independently made. And I kind of wish that people, look for this film, check it out. It's definitely worth it, especially for those of African descent. This is definitely a film you have to see. And speaking of a film you have to see, it leads me to my number 2. Amastan. This is a Steven Spielberg film that failed badly in the box office. And this is number 2 for a reason. This is a film that's very powerful. It's involved a slave ship being overtaken by the slaves. That happens in the very beginning. What happens after that is pretty much, it's pretty much out there. This is a film I have seen during a Black History Month class. They showed a lot of movies related to Black History Month. This was one of them. And I do not regret seeing this film one bit. It's a very powerful movie. It's a very powerful film. One of Steven Spielberg's best. And it's a film that nobody saw. And why nobody saw this film is very simple. This film hits too close to home. A lot of people got on Rodriguez for making Django the way it is. But the thing is, he wasn't trying to be historical about what he does. He was making spaghetti western with a slave theme and all. But you know what? The action alone is what brings people in. When you have a film like this, and I'm not agreeing that should always be the case, but when you have a film that is very straight, cut and dry, not holding anything back, this is what actually happened. And do your research, because there's actually more. When films like these come out, and there was a lot of films that came out that year, with this one and East Bayou, also Dearly Beloved. Films like these do not get high box office receipts. This is one of the reasons why Hollywood do not want to make a straight up forward historical film about slavery, because it's not going to bring in the numbers. As much as I wish that was not the case with Hollywood, they're looking at the receipts. This is a film that was cut and dry, no hold barred. This is what it is. We're not sanitizing anything, and no one saw this. This film was played in the United Artists Theater in Staten Island, one of 3 movie theaters at the time, and originally had 5 showings. I came there. The film was released on a Friday. I came there on a Saturday. The 5 was automatically cut to 1 showing. That's how quick the theaters were about to not show this movie. It was cut to 1 showing, and if you missed that showing, that was it. And I was upset because it was a showing that was shown way too early for me. I couldn't get there in time. I had other stuff to do, and no sooner than after 1 week, this movie was gone. This film tanked badly in the box office, and I'm sad to see it tank at the box office, because this is a film that I really recommend a lot of people to see. It's a very, very strong film. I put it right up there with Roswell. And if you guys didn't see Rosewood, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. That's how powerful it is. Rosewood, I have saw, and the stuff that was going on in that movie has stayed with me. That's how gripping this film is. I have to really remind myself this happened in the past. Don't start blaming people for other people's dirty deeds. But that's how deep this film is. And to me, this film should get recognized as such. If you really want to see how it went down, especially with what was going on in terms of our history, you gotta check out this movie. Steven Spielberg did a tremendous job at this. He also did this ain't the first time he's done this. He did The Color Purple, and this one is no different. This was a great film. Now, I know you're asking, what is the number 1 film that I consider underrated? Well, this one is a very close to home film that I will tell you right now, I don't like the actor. I didn't like him in Young Guns 2. Let's face it, I didn't like Young Guns, period. But I didn't like him in Young Guns 2. I didn't see his TV show or when it came out. But I will say, out of all the films that he was in, this was the film that touched me the most. He was excellent in this film, and I give credit where credit's due. And the fact is, it's not considered as one of the top best teen films that came out still boggles me to this day. All the teen films that was coming out that during those years, a lot of bad ones, and this is the one that doesn't even get mentioned, doesn't even get talked about as one of the best ones. That's Pump Up the Volume. Pump Up the Volume is a movie, I will tell you right now, I had no clue what to expect from this film. Was it going to be a typical bad boy, good girl film? He's talking on the radio. I didn't know what it was. When I finally saw the film, I realized that this was about a kid who was running an illegal radio station and was talking about stuff that I did not come to expect from a film to talk about. And not only did it talk about the stuff about insecurity, about a person's own sexuality, about some of the emotions that a lot of teenagers go through, it did it well. I connected with this movie. I really was engaged in this movie, and I felt like I wanted to make a phone call and talk about the stuff. That's how good this film was to me. This film would have gotten the 4 stars for me. It got 3.5, and it stays on 3.5. It would have gotten the 4 stars if it wasn't for the fact they treated some of the teachers a little bit too cartoonish, and act like the teachers didn't really care. That's not really the case. There are some teachers who care, who understand. The one teacher who was trying to be neutral in the situation can understand. But that was always been the only gripe I had with this film. The film really did strike a chord with me in terms of the issues that was bringing up. These were not fake issues. These were real issues that was being brought up, and it was being brought up well. There was no resolve. There was just advice given out. You had peers talking to peers, peers connecting to each other, and that was really drove me to this film. The more I watched this film, the more and more I wanted to keep going. The more about this character. And what's ironic is that when I saw the poster, I was assuming that this guy was that cool dude and everything else. This guy was a geek, and yet when he was on the radio, he was larger than life, and he was just an insecure kid himself. It was very, very interesting. It was not like and I want to make this very clear. The family in this film, they wasn't dumb either. They cared for each other. They loved each other. They was concerned for him. But in all, he was still very insecure, and this was his way of reaching out. Not only to, it was basically he was reaching out to his own peers. Not only giving advice, but getting advice in return. It was like almost like he was, by him saying this stuff, he was getting information as well, and I really did like that about this movie. But I like me don't know why this film is not considered one of the top teen films. Nobody talks about it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I've been, stuck in a cave too long. But nobody talks about this film. When you look at teen films in the 80s and 90s, automatically people talk about 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club. You talk about Chances Are. Hell, you even talk about some of the bad ones, 3 O'Clock High, The Principal. But this film don't get mentioned, and that's kind of a sad thing. I'm like, wow, as the years went on, this film is slowly being forgotten. And I hope that someone who has this movie, re-release it, or at least talk about it more, so this film gets more recognition, because it's one of the films, especially if you're a teen, you need to see. It's very, very good. And in a year, and I'm going to stress this out also, in a year where teenager was not looked at because of movies in a well light. A lot of films betrayed teenagers, and wrongfully so, as nothing more than foul-mouthed, drug-dealing, sex addicts who want to start trouble, and that's it. This film wasn't like that. It really wasn't like that. They made the issues the top priority. They made the theme of the movie the top priority. And with that, I really appreciate it more, because this was not about kids just getting in trouble. Yeah, there were kids that were morons, but the most majority of the kids who were engaged in this movie were kids who actually had problems. Teenagers who actually had problems that even today you can relate to, and that's the thing that I really got out of this movie. And I kind of wish that this film is recognized more, so that way teenagers as well can get out of this movie. It's very, very good. Well, that's pretty much about it. As usual, you guys can agree and disagree. That's fine. You guys can voice your own opinion. I like to hear your own opinion. Again, nothing's carved in stone. But these are the films I felt that was underrated, and I felt that although you guys may not like the film, that's cool. but I felt that these films should at least get recognized for some of the stuff they have accomplished, especially for Nightbreed for being something different, especially for Pump Up the Volume, especially for Amastan. I think these films should deserve a lot more respect than what it has gotten in the past. But then again, you guys may disagree. I would like to hear your opinion on the matter. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe, and Flashback Reviews will be back to basics next week.